So you guys are like probably the people that stay at the end of movies, right, and watch all the credits, since you're here on the last day of the last hour. Thank you for that. My fellow speakers and I really appreciate it. I have about 2 decades of marketing experience, and yet I was asked to come to this really awesome marketing conference and not talk about marketing. I'm not sure what that says, but I was asked to get up on this stage and talk about something bold and something I could be passionate about and believe in. So I had to sit back and think about what that would be. What else am I really passionate about? And I'm really passionate about the human spirit. I have always been enthralled with our ability to overcome tragedy. Sometimes I obsess a little bit too much about tragedies, but also how we can be so resilient and how we persevere through difficult times. So I'm here today to talk to you about that. But I also know that I couldn't get up on this stage and talk to you about something without giving you some kind of background on what the heck I know about it. Everyone has challenges. It's something that we share as humans. We all go through difficult times. So hopefully today, some of this will resonate with you, whether you're going through a tough time today or maybe a tough time in the future. My story starts out innocent enough. There I am at 3 years old trying on my first faux fur coat, given to me by my lovely grandmother there on the right. Fast forward 3 years, and at the age of 6, I became my first significant statistic. I became one of the 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 20 boys who are victims of childhood sexual abuse. It would last for a couple of years until at the age of 8 I moved away, and it was at the hands of someone who was supposed to be a caretaker for me. I moved again at the age of 15 in the middle of my sophomore year, which is not fun. Don't do that to your kids if you can help it. I moved from Wyoming to Michigan, and I put my secret away. I never told anybody, and I moved on. As you can see, I was a pretty girly girl, and so I was pretty shocked and a little taken aback when I moved and girls with names like Billy Joe, and I'm not kidding, that was really her name, threatened to beat me up and even to kill me. So much so that I had to spend a lot of time in the guidance counselor's office. And the guidance counselor helped me navigate this new world of mean girls. And he also gave me great advice, and he also helped me as I was preparing to go out into the world and hopefully go to college. And I was struggling with math, and I remember he gave me this advice, and he said, "Don't worry, girls don't need math." And I said, "What? Girls don't need math? But I want to go into business, and I want to be maybe a business owner one day. I'm pretty sure I need to like do books or something, right? Like at least know what's going on." And so I was really confused about this message. Did this mean that I was, thinking too much of myself? Did I have too big of goals? But I graduated, and I went on, and I forgot that piece of advice, although I did struggle with math even through college. I went to college, and unfortunately, the secret that I had been keeping for almost 2 decades really started to catch up with me. I became very anxious. I drank too much. I didn't go to class. I was depressed, and I even tried to commit suicide. That was 22 years ago. I left college for 1.5 years after that, and I found myself, I found help, I went to therapy, and I worked really, really hard to want to be alive and to want to be here and to figure out my self-worth among a world of people that were telling me all the things I couldn't do or couldn't be. Because in my mind, as a childhood sexual abuse survivor, I already had great doubts. It was set in my psyche that I was never good enough, that I didn't deserve good things, that I was a terrible person. I must have done something really awful for that to happen to me. So I already have that psyche, and it's been a lifelong battle. It's something that's very difficult to get over. I returned after 1.5 years to college, and I had 3 jobs and a full class workload, and that made me happy. I discovered in my time off that to be really busy made me feel like a worthwhile person. I went on to graduate, but before I did, I got another piece of really stellar advice from an educator. One of my deans said to me, when I told everyone my plans, I was going to move to Boston, and I was going to work in PR. I didn't have a job yet, but I was determined that I was going to get an agency job. And she said to me, "What? You're going to move to Boston. You do know that you are a little fish, and that is a big pond, and you'll never make it, and you'll be back in Michigan within 1 year." I yet again ignored this great advice and moved on. I tend to be stubborn. I'm Irish and German, and so I have a big stubborn streak, so if you tell me I can't do something, I'll probably try to do it anyway. And I moved to Boston, and things seemed to be working out really well. I moved here in 1996. In 1997, I met my future husband. In 1998, I started my first company, Perkett PR. We grew to 30 companies coast to coast. In 1999, I got married. There I am with my father dancing at my wedding. I had 2 beautiful children whom I obviously love very much and who make every day worth living. And I had 2 dogs. I had a great house. I even ran the famed Boston Marathon. Things were looking really awesome, especially on Facebook. It looked perfect. But the truth is, like all of you, we have ups and downs. And I was really struggling. The truth is, in the second year of my marriage, things went sour. And we had some struggles, and I would spend the next 10 years trying to make that marriage work. It ultimately wouldn't. We would separate in 2011, and I would suffer from anxiety and depression once again. I had a lot of broken friendships as a result of that separation, which is something that I've also been dealing with the last 3 years. And divorce is hard enough, but it was even harder as we would spend probably the next year trying to reconcile about 6 times, which was difficult on us, difficult on our children, and difficult on pretty much everyone in our lives. And also in late 2010, as a result of this challenging marriage, I went back to therapy, and I learned that I had battered women syndrome. And let me be clear, I have never been physically abused, and that's not what I mean by that. But because of my childhood abuse, I seek out relationships that aren't good for me. I seek out people who treat me as less than equal because I believe in my psyche as a result of that abuse that I am not good enough. And as much as I try to fight that every single day, it's a battle I have to wake up every morning and fight. It's there, and I have to work really hard to be in good relationships. Also in early 2011, I was, at the same time I was separating from my husband, I was sued for the first time, both personally and professionally. And I would go on to win this lawsuit, however, it was appealed. And since then, to this day, I'm still fighting and spending lots of money to prove my innocence. Because in this country, let me tell you, you are guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. So it's been a rough few years for me. But here I am in this Bold Talk stage. I get to speak with people like you. Thank you, Laura, for having me. I get to mingle and meet new people. I just started my second company last year. We just launched our first product about a month ago. And I keep persevering and moving forward. Part of that, again, is because I'm stubborn, but also because I have learned that challenges happen to everyone. So you too can persevere, and I'm going to share some of the lessons that I've learned through these very quick snapshot of my life. What do you do when you want to curl up on the couch with wine or ice cream, or as I discovered doing this presentation, there's now wine ice cream, which is awesome. So you can do that maybe one night, and that's good, but it's not good for the long run. So the first thing you have to do, as I learned through, again, 2 decades of suppressing the worst thing that ever happened to me, you have to acknowledge what's happening. Mark Schaefer stood on this stage yesterday, and he said, sometimes you don't realize what's happening to you, and that's true. But at some point, you'll step back, and you'll be like, holy crap, I just went through that. Until you can get to that point, your problems will never go away. Trust me, I tried. They're always there. You have to go through. You can't go around. Next, I love this quote by Anne Frank. Wake up every morning and look around and find something that's still beautiful in your life. Whether it's the flowers outside that are blooming, whether it's your children, maybe it's a roof over your head, there's always still something good. Next, be a goal digger. I know you guys are probably like, Christine, I have goals. Of course I have goals. But that's not what I mean. What I mean is life throws you curveballs, and you had this perfect plan, right? Especially when we're in college, and especially women do this. I'm going to meet Mr. Right, I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to do all these things to be perfect. And when it doesn't work out that way, you have to realign your goals. And you have to say, okay, I can't reach those goals anymore because the path took me this way. So realign your goals when you have challenges. Don't let others dull your shine. I spent a lot of time figuring out that the only definition of success and happiness that really matters is mine. If I spent all of my time and energy trying to meet everyone else's definition, I'm going to be miserable, and you will too. So don't let others dull your shine. Next, as I mentioned, I've been in and out of therapy throughout my life, and it's been very helpful. Maybe you don't want to go to counseling if you're having troubles, but find a trusted colleague or friend or advisor. And I recommend that you find someone who doesn't have a vested stake in your decision either way. Just someone that will listen, not try to direct you one direction or another, but just be there for you. This is a pretty obvious one, but you can't heal and you can't move forward and you can't get over your problems if you don't take care of yourself. I know when I'm depressed, the last thing I want to do is go for a run or exercise in any manner. It's really difficult. But as I think Simon talked about in his keynote, serotonin helps you get energized and feel better. It's good for your brain. So make sure that you're exercising. Find something emotionally that makes you happy, even if it's just going to a movie that you've wanted to see. Treat yourself when you're having some troubles. Spiritually, find something to believe in, and mentally take care of your health. Lots of people say, I don't have a creative bone in my body, I can't do art. But art is a really big healing function. You have some creativity in you, whether it's writing, maybe it's a blog, maybe it's sculpture, maybe it's painting. It doesn't have to be shown to anyone. It doesn't have to be good. But it's something that can take you out of your current problems and help you reflect. It's actually a really great grief partner. I started to design jewelry a few years ago because I spent all day, every day on the computer, and I wanted to get out of that. Next, spend some time thinking about the people in your life. This is a really tough one to do. I have spent a lot of time the last 3 years ending relationships with people that weren't good for me, not just my ex-husband, but friends and even some family members. You know that friend that's always like complimenting you, but also not complimenting you at the same time? Those people are probably not too good for you. And if someone makes you feel bad every time you're around them, get rid of them. I love this quote by C.S. Lewis, and sometimes it's really hard when we're in the middle of hard times to think, this is going to build my character, this is my story, because we don't like this part of the story, it's the ugly part. But hardships can lead you to an extraordinary destiny. So when you're in the middle of it and the thick of it, and you just feel like you can't go on, remember this is just one chapter in your long story. And finally, this is a piece of advice that my mother wrote and stuck on my refrigerator when I was going through my divorce. It said, be a shark. I called her up, I said, Mom, I have enough trouble. I don't want to be a shark. I just want this to be over with. I don't want to be mean. And she said, no, honey, that's not what I mean. Sharks can only move forward. Be a shark. I wanted to leave you with a few other amazingly resilient people, not just with my story, but with some others that have faced harder times. This is Eric Donovan. Eric is one of the nicest, most upbeat human beings I've ever met in my life. At age 15, Eric was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a rare form of cancer. He would spend the next 5 years being a very formidable foe for that cancer, and he would be determined cancer-free at age 21. Just 6 weeks later, 5 or 6 weeks later, and eerily on the anniversary of his first diagnosis, Eric dove into shallow water in Situate, Mass, and he broke his 5th vertebrae, and he's paralyzed from the chest down. He was 21. I called up Eric and I said, Eric, you're so inspirational. I need something to share with this audience besides just my own story. What would you tell this audience? And he has a lot of great things, but I only have 12 minutes, of which I know I'm going to go over a little bit. So I chose my favorite that he gave me. Every morning he gets up and he looks at this acronym. FEAR. You can either fear everything and run, or face everything and rise. I love that. I'm going to print that out for myself too. This is Jennifer. I actually met Jennifer because she and I worked together to create a fundraiser for Eric. Jennifer had known him all throughout his teens. Jennifer is, again, a really beautiful, kind, smart, friendly woman. And in a couple of years since that event, she's had some hard times as well. She has 4 sons who are all diagnosed with autoimmune deficiency issues within a year of each other, and her 3rd son was diagnosed with only the 7th human case of EE, which required brain surgery this July. Her Facebook is full of hospital check-ins and pictures of her sons in hospital beds with bandages around their heads. So I also asked her, how do you get through these things? She said, first of all, she focuses on others, which I think is beautiful. There's always someone that's going through a harder time than we are, and sometimes it can help us to help them, and we can realize we can get through our problems too. She also said that she has great faith in spirituality. Whatever she believes in may not be what you believe in, but find something that you can believe in. And finally, she said that this is the only childhood her children are going to have, and she is determined to make it a great one. I thought that was really beautiful. This is my brother Ken. I may be a little biased putting him up here, but Ken has spent 28 years next month in the Army. He's been deployed 4 times. He's been a Michigan State Trooper for 20 years, and he has seen more human tragedy and terrible things than probably any of us in this room, or at least the majority of us in this room, will ever see. During one of his last deployments, Ken didn't know this, but he was getting separated from. He came home and he would be divorced shortly thereafter. He also said that he had to be really strong and cold in order to get through war. So at one point when he came home, he looked at his family and he felt absolutely nothing. He has 2 twin children, and he was married at the time, and it scared him greatly, so he got help. My big, brave, strong brother went to therapy and got help, and it made all the difference in the world. Again, find someone to talk to. He also said, discover a solo happiness. For him, it's his motorcycle. He gets out and takes a ride, and he gets that peace. And he also said to focus on the good, kind of like Anne Frank. He just got remarried this summer after 6 years of divorce. That's our family picture, and I'm so happy for him. He worked really hard to get there. And finally, he said never, ever, ever quit, which sounds so obvious. But sometimes it's hard to believe when we're down in the dumps. So I hope that you'll keep optimism and faith and confidence, and that you will carry on and stay strong. Thank you.